Yes, I do. Good afternoon and welcome. Don't even know which side that's on. Just back to doing my daily cards. I'm just trying to see where I am and if I'm on both YouTube and Facebook today. I can see some people are joining in, so I just want to make sure. It looks like I'm everywhere. Sorry, a little bit later again today. Yesterday, if you were in watching, you noticed I had my granddaughter, and she made her first appearance in one of my lives, and so she was here with me yesterday, and so I decided today I would wait till she went home before I came in. Good morning, or good afternoon, Catherine and Cherry. Hi. So I let my granddaughter go home before I came in today. So I didn't have to rush. We don't have crying babies. We don't have the kids next door, who I love dearly. My sweet little boys that live next door ringing doorbells, wanting to see the baby. We don't have all of that stuff today. We just have myself and the cards, and actually you got a whole lot of me in the cards today. So we're at card number 40 today. If you're new and you have not been watching these, then this is the Everyday Goddess Oracle cards. This is what I normally do in the morning. And this is my brand new deck of Oracle cards that I am hoping that I can get into publishing soon. I wanted to say the end of March. It's not going to happen. And it's funny because when I had my yearly check-in with my people that I work with, they said, Corey, that's like pushing it. There's too much love in those cards and too much magic and too much sacred information and healing that you can't rush the process, and they're going to take a little bit longer than that. So hello. Good afternoon. My own distraction. And so the cards are not, they might not be the end of March, hopefully by the end of April. I think we finally got the final design of them laid down. I'm pretty sure. Olanka, you need strength today? Oh, we need it over in this house today too. All kinds of stuff happening today. There's a lot blown in the wind today. So today is my cards. That's what we're doing, is we're pulling my card. And like I say, stay till the end. You never know what messages. My crown chakra is on fire. And when I so struggle with this card that I'm going to bring up. And so there's a lot of struggles today. And today was another one of those days when I did not want to come in. Well, Cherry, let's just see what this gives you today. So, and I do validate, we get the one card. So if you're new and you're watching me do this part, not so much my mediumship work, if you're watching me do this, is that I always say I give the one card, which is I'm going in order from one card to the next in my deck of Oracle cards. And then I validate the card. So then I pull like a whole 3-card reading. So every single day, I am literally pulling a 3-card reading that resonates with everybody. These cards from the Everyday Goddess Oracle is a little bit of a paradox because it's like they have a goddess in the title. The little girl who's Grace, she's the innocent. She's also in the cards. She's got angel wings. So there's angels, there's goddess, and there's attitude. And they're actually everyday women in the cards. And so it's a whole pile of mixed energy in my cards because that's how I work. I'm unmarketable. That's the big thing, is that I'm very unmarketable. It's very hard to market me. It's hard to market my work. It's hard to be able to pinpoint exactly who and what I am, because what my work is ancient, and it's wisdom that is channeled from way beyond, as Olanka really knows. And so she knows through the walls of this house, because she lives next door, that, there's much that I channel through. So today, let's hope that this brings in some help for each and every one. I am just waiting for some people to join in because the room fills up. So I'm going to bring up our first card of today, and this is not a vanity card. This is why I struggle with this card so much. This card that I'm pulling was not intended for the deck of Oracle cards. This was a Christmas gift to me. And it was a painting, the artist, Amelia Richard, who's an amazing artist. She is the artist who created the actual artwork from my sketches for this deck of oracle cards. And she gifted me at Christmas time a gift of a portrait of me. And everything just, it was just so meant to go into the cards. And then I took it out of the cards and it wasn't going back in, because I'm like, no, it's 44 cards. We have 44 cards. We don't need this card. And then we realized there was a zero. So because there's a zero, you still need up to number 44. So that card ended up in the deck. So that's one thing with this life. You can plan as much as you want. You can try to be in charge. You could think you're going to make up your own mind, your own decision, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. You don't know. You really don't know. You don't know what's in store. You don't know you don't know what's really there for you. You have no idea. You really, really don't. You can plan and you can have some idea. You can have a hope. You can have a dream, but you don't know, because every single moment you don't know what's going to change. You don't know how your life is going to change. And so this card actually became a big moment for me. And so I'm not sure if Amelia understood in the moment of creating this, the power of how powerful this card would be for me. And so this is the card. We are at card number 40. I'm almost out of cards, guys, for showing every single day. There's 45 cards. And this is card number 40. And it's the awareness of truth. Her name is Corina, which is my name. That's my official name. So people say, well, why did you go with Corey? I said, I didn't. I didn't choose Corey. I also didn't choose Corina, but I didn't choose Corey. My parents, and I guess I really don't know how, but they started calling me Corey from the time I was first born. I don't know if I ever got called Corina. I don't remember being called Corina ever, only by my dad. My dad calls me Corina all the time. He introduces me as Corina. And so how this card ended up in here goes a long way back. And I do a lot of journaling. Of course, I write books, so I do a lot of writing. But it comes down to, the awareness of truth. And when you look at the awareness of truth, what the awareness of truth is the awareness of love. And when you come up with the word love, is that love encompasses everything. Love is everything. It really is. And it bears everything, whether it's a love for yourself or someone else having a love for their self or whatever it may be. That name, Corina, which I hated all of my life. I hate it. So how she ended up in the cards was that Corina is the woman that I had been running from my whole life. And she looks nothing like the girl sitting in that chair. She looks nothing like the girl that is looking at you, like this version of me today. She had really dark hair. She had a different look in her eyes. There was so much different about that Corina, who she was. And am I her? Well, of course I'm her. But that's our truth. So the awareness of the truth really came that I had lived a lot of my life living in the shadows of my truth. So being angry, resentful, being sad, wanting to be loved, wanting to be liked, wanting to be all of these things, wanting to be important somewhere, wanting to matter somewhere. And so all of those things that we do and all of that we carry hold us hostage to so many other things. But this was the big thing for me, was I had something within me that I always wanted the best for everybody. And I never cared what I got in return. I was so determined to give everybody, I wanted to see everybody happy. I wanted to see everybody comforted. I wanted to see everybody. And so I spent a long time really taking from myself. And all growing up and stuff, I would always get these, I would be 12, 13 years old, and a 15-year-old would say, oh my God, you're so cool. I want to hang out with you. And then I'd be like, because I love your hair. And I'm just wondering, maybe I can come over sometime and maybe you can do my hair for me. And I was, yes, because I wanted to have that connection. So I just wanted people to be happy in some way. I'm like, yes, I'd love to share what I have. I'd love to give. And they'd come and I would do their hair and they'd be all friends in that moment and for that time. The minute it was done, they'd be out, they'd be gone, and that would be it. And then later that night, I would pass them out on the street and they would act as if they've never seen me, act as if they didn't know me. And I could never understand that behavior. I could never get that. This is what I realized. Everything that we can't understand or everything that we keep trying to push over onto another, we're doing that to ourselves. So everything that I was frustrated with or that I felt hurt for, that I was saying, it's because of this or it's because of that, it was never those people. They were the messenger of the day. It was through their eyes that I would see everything that at this stage of the game that I would see that I was doing to myself, that I could not sit in that mirror and make and be so proud and happy of myself the same way I would be proud and happy of somebody else, the way that I would want somebody else to succeed. So in the meantime of wanting to be there is that I would get off my throne. I would get out of my own energy. I would make myself last. I would leave myself. I would leave what I wanted and I would let somebody else feel as if they were doing all these good things, and just so they could feel special, just so that they could feel like they mattered. And so I would be left all the time. And it came down to, I had my clothes stolen from my own bedroom. I had my money stolen out of my money jar. It was just things that would just be constant. And I'm like, why do I keep robbing myself? So becoming the awareness of the truth was that the one person that I was really seeking that to accept would have to be myself. And in this deck of cards, like I say, every day, right? Right now, you're all seeing this, right? Right. Oh my God, that's what happened to me my entire younghood, right? Yeah, a pleaser. Exactly. Well, that's trauma response, right? That's you. That's you my whole life. Okay, right, right. And so when you do that, then you do that everywhere. So the adult will do that in every relationship. You'll do that everywhere. I spend a lot of time in my life walking around with a hurt heart. And and so this is where, people assume they know you. Even people that, once they're in your life for a short period of time, they think you know you. But as I became older, I became a lot more kind of guarded of myself. And I very much have to I pick wisely of how much I give of myself to a certain degree. But in the other way, I open my heart and I give open heartedly because I trust everybody. And I trust that everybody's going to be doing what's of the highest good for me. And by opening myself and being trusting is that I always think that I'm going to be treated the same way back. And you come to find out you don't always be. But that doesn't, what it means is that I can't harden that anymore because I can't lose the parts of me that make me me. So this person that is present, when I was a little girl, I used to dream of her. And when I was starting to color my hair blonde back many years ago, I used to always get, why are you ruining your beautiful dark hair? And I wore it bright red for a long time. It was called Rocket Fire Red, Shades EQ in Redken color. I am a hairstylist for many years. And so I wore dark red hair. And when I decided to go blonde, I started slow and I did it myself in the beginning and and then people say you don't look like you, and now it's like, oh well, we wouldn't know you with the dark hair. But I dreamt of me. I used to see me. I used to see this person and I would see her the same way I would see these cards. I start creating these cards when I was a little girl and didn't know it. And so every time that I would say yes and, open my heart to invite people in, I did it with the purest of intentions, with the purest of hearts. I don't care what anyone else is going to do with their life. I don't care where anyone else is going. I have to still care about what kind of human being I'm going to be, but I care deeply of how much I love humanity, how much I love people, and that you can't change. But when you realize that you have to place yourself up on your own throne, and that you have to protect what is yours. It's an eye-opening experience. So you're doing this in relationships, you're doing this everywhere, and it's patterns. But it's easy to say you're going to break those patterns. It's easy to say you're going to make those changes. But you've got to find the original source. You've got to find the original issue. And sadly, mine goes all the way back to somebody else defining you. So right in the beginning, when you're even given your name, like, okay, so our name is given by God type thing, and then it comes through the parents' mouth and they decide. So when your name is changed, or you get nicknames, or they call you sweetheart, or they call you anything else, you become that, and then you become everything that you are conditioned to become. You are. I'll read all the comments in a second. I got to finish this before I forget to stop. So you become the conditioning of everything in life, and you become the image of what you are molded into. So whatever somebody else is experiencing in their lives, chances are they're trying to redefine you to not be them, or trying to live their dreams through you. So a lot of times, even in our childhood and in our lives, is that the people who love you the most are living vicariously through you, through that energy, through that light. But you're also living vicariously through your truth that you left behind. And so you use the best parts of you, but you let your shadow self live your life, because you are still trying to defend and protect the most sacred pieces of you. So in a relationship, you go into a relationship and you say, well, I don't know why. Like, I thought they were a different person, or I thought, well, but you're not showing up as you. And when you let yourself fully be seen, once you feel safe and you think you're in love, or you think you're feeling love, or you think you're in a group where you feel safe and you go, oh, I can let myself be me. Well, that's not the person people fell in love with. Bunch of small courses that called The Goddess Within, the Soul Revival. All of that stuff that I offer in Corey School of Magic, all of those programs help you with this stuff. So, oh, am I back? I think I'm back, right? Froze on there for a moment. Ricky, my son called you a queen. She's the same. She's the same. I've never seen a real queen before. Well, tell him I said thank you. And so that's the same name with the name Queenie, which is also in the deck of Oracle cards. We actually have a card named Queenie. Is that, when you're young and you're told, who does she think she is? The queen, right? And so that would often, who do you think you are? The queen? Well, that becomes such a negative word. So how much of your life, or the things that you've heard, did you take to be negative? Or, so you would take it to be negative, and you would try everything not to be it. So I tried everything not to be a queen. I tried everything to just be like everybody else. I tried everything to hide these crazy ass gifts that I have. And I don't share half of what I do. Half of my work I don't share into the world, because I'm like, I don't know if the world's ready for it. and it is a very, it's a lot of things that are very sacred to me. And a lot of the information and wisdom and knowledge that I have is stuff that is written in some pretty ancient books. And I don't know how I know it. I just know it. And I don't know why I know it. I just know it. And I've accepted that. And that's just who I am. And so being a queen or putting yourself up on your crown or making yourself a priority doesn't mean that you think you're better than anyone else. It doesn't mean any of those things. So the queenie, when the queenie card was made, is that it shows the eyes of envy, the eyes of love, what we inspire to be. So when you become your own worst enemy, when you realize the person that you are hardest on, that you criticize the most, that you judge the most, that you beat up the most is you, you start to really re-examine. And the one person that I've been running away from my whole life was Corina. And because the only place that I seen her name was on like bills, on government things, or when I was in trouble. So I figured if someone must have hated the name, they named me that, and then they must have really hated it because no one ever used it. And I knew, and until I moved to Alberta, I never knew another Corina, ever. And then when I moved here, I met a whole bunch, and I met a whole bunch of beautiful women named Corina. And I'm like, well, they're gorgeous and they're beautiful. And it's taken me a long time to fall into that. I'll never use the name because now I'm Corey, but I've accepted Corina. I've accepted the truth of me. And that's what she represents, is that you have to be the queen of your world, but a true queen, a true healthy queen, if you see, instead of being depicted as always being this horrible person, a true queen is someone who is there for her people. She's always there for her people. She walks with her people. She steps down off her crown and off her throne, and she helps others. And but she knows her worth and she knows her value. And that's what a real queen does. And it's taken me years to become that person that I'm starting. Haven't got it all figured out. We're still very human. That awareness of truth was about what it means to be a human being with the greatest of dignity, integrity, and to know that our journey is to find our way home. And by finding our way home, it's finding our way back into whatever this word means to you. And I'm going to say it as I always say it, finding your way home to God. And that God is within you, finding that light within you, that you don't need to live through somebody else, that you don't have to try to create yourself to be somebody else, that you don't have to keep giving to yourself. You don't have to keep doing those things. The pleaser, the attention seeker, the drama queen, all of those things are all trauma responses. And most of the things that we have trauma around through childhood, you are remembering through the eyes of a child. And you're remembering that life, and you're trying to define through that way. You're trying to create this image. You're trying to become this professional person, all through the eyes of everything that a child's seen, that you have turned it into this mountain of resentment and anger and judgment, and trying to push yourself to be better, to be more, to succeed. Everybody gets this thought that if I become this, I will be somebody. If I get this, I will be accomplished in this world. Your success will never be in that great big accomplishment. Your success is what it is of how you treat others, and how you treat yourself, and how you learn to allow yourself to just be, and to learn to trust. The biggest thing that I can say now is that I have learned to trust, and I am trusting the journey. I don't know what's next. That's why I'm like, oh my God, I used to panic over things not being done or not getting things out in time, and everything is divine timing. As things are meant to happen, as things align, every time you try to push that, or every time that or every time you go in with those intentions, so people get to know you based on your shadow, based on the parts of you, those roles, those masks, those personas that you present into the world, people don't get to know the real you. Right. And so when you start to walk as the real you, you have to realize that people around you have built their version of you on the reputation that they have created. So they find out one little thing about you, and they might turn you into the most hateful person ever. And you may start to believe it. When you start to believe the views that other people have of you, or to how other people define you, and you start to believe that, you start to create what I call your blackened heart, a saddened heart. You start to become so sad, and you're always trying to justify it. You're always trying to fix it. You're always trying to make somebody else's life better. So if you start out by being, showing your truth going in, if you reveal it all, you have nothing to hide. And I learned that years ago when I was starting to step out being all of this. And people say, why would you ever tell all this? I said, because every skeleton you have in the closet, if you start to write these books, if you're going to be this spiritual healer, if you're going to be this work, every skeleton that you have in the closet, somebody's going to be poking for, and they're going to be trying to find, because the one thing, as you rise up, people are always going to be there to try to take you off your throne. As you get healthier, as you do well, somebody's always going to want to destroy you. And that's the truth. And that's because the unhealed, that everyone else, they want you to come back to their misery. Because as you rise up, it's not that you're looking down on people or you think you're better than anyone, is that you become a reflection of what everyone else needs to do within themselves. And when you see that and you're like, oh my God, but I don't want to lose those friends. I don't want to lose that family. I don't want to lose those people. You're not losing nothing. That's choices people make to create those stories, to tell themselves that, to cause their own hurt and their pain. And you're not creating nothing. That's what everybody else, that's what the people around you are telling themselves, so that they have a reason and a why to stay there. And so when I had said to somebody said to me, why you? Why did you get chosen? I'm like, why not me? Am I really that bad of a person? Right? And so why not me? So who defines who's a good enough person in this world? Who defines? So every time that you are defining yourself as that good person or that kind person or that giving person, and everybody is taking from me, who are you comparing yourself to? Because every time you are comparing yourself to somebody, or you're using those statements and you're going there, you're actually thinking that you might be a little bit better than everybody else. And you don't realize that you don't know that, because you're trying to define yourself based on what you're experiencing through somebody else, instead of saying, I don't know what anyone else is thinking. Doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter what anyone else is thinking or doing. It matters what you are thinking and what you are doing, because what you are thinking and what you are doing is affecting every single relationship that you are having in your life, including the one that you are having with you and your shadows. You can't bring your shadows to more than existing. You can bring them, you're bringing them, because that's where you're coming into more than existing. But when you come in and you start to do the healing work, it is not for your shadows. It's not for your other versions of you. It is for your truth. And it is about pulling you up. I always say, put your big girl panties on. Put your big girl panties on, or your big boy pants. Put them on and face your truth. What are you contributing to your own life that causes you to be where you are? It all goes back to us, because we hide the best parts of us, or we're always trying to defend it, or we're always trying to make up for it by trying to fix somebody else. Yeah. Catherine, I'm on the fifth Catherine, and my mom refuses to acknowledge that we share the name. Instead, I am Little Missy. I have a hard time knowing which name to use, so I bounce back and forth. Right, exactly. You don't realize how much that affects your identity, how much of your identity is affected, right? And it's such a truth. Hi, everybody else who's joining in with us with your first name, Darla. Yes, right, Becky. It's like, it's so hard. Want to be loved by everyone because I felt unloved by a parent. Yes, exactly. But you can't fix that relationship. No matter how much you try to be loved by everybody, you will never fix the original, right? You'll never fix what went wrong. And so it's about recognizing that the parts of the person that were capable of loving was in the soul. So the soul of that person had a good intention. The human didn't. And so the soul self, so looking back from the adult of today, well, first you probably say, thank God that, it's like that, maybe everything happens for a reason, or how it happens. That's what they say. I don't know all of that. Not going to get into that discussion, but when you look back at that person through the eyes of who we are today, so the healed me, no matter who I look at, I have a different story, because I no longer have a story. You can't tell the stories. I tell my stories in the book because that's the way it happened. That's for the book. But when you have no story, I don't know that person. I don't know who they were. I know nothing of them, only what I heard from somebody else about them. But I'm sure somewhere inside the soul self, which is tied to the God consciousness that is unconditional would have loved you, would have been connected to you without a doubt. So that's just one reason why you can stop, because why you can stop wanting to be loved by everybody else. Because everybody else actually does love you, even if they don't know they love you. Because the soul self of every single person loves every single person. That's how it is. Afternoon, everyone else. But I hate it. I'm like, right. So, right. See? Oh, I can see. Sharon, I am my worst enemy by overthinking and imagining. Creating stories is the hardest habit to kick. Well, that's what all of more than existing is. So all four levels, and it started with just one level. It was just a 6-month course, and it was about self-actualization. It was about, and people always say, what am I getting out of level one? You're getting you. You are the reward, getting your heart back. So, like, really, truly accomplishing the biggest accomplishment in your life should truly be about learning to love you without false love, without any conditions, right? Loving you and creating a more healthy life for you to live in. And there's so many unhealed healers in the world because we all do the training because we're all going to, oh my God, I'm gifted. I can help so many people in the world. But what about you? Right. And so I just called my own bullshit and just said, I see through the eyes of watching other people have a tantrum when the world goes sideways that I fucking don't want to be that way. That's not how it's like, I do that too. And I see it. And I'm like, I don't want to be a keyboard warrior. I don't want my day to be ruined because somebody else did this or said this, or somebody else was against this or against that. Right. And it's like, I'm against me. And that's the thing, is that you're fighting against yourself because you're hating on yourself. When you become your own worst enemy, you will do anything to defend the parts of you that you need to let go of, the parts of the story you need to set free. Because, you say you don't, I'm not attached. That doesn't even bother me. But if you look at your attitude, if you look at the things that you keep trying to do, you realize how many parts of you it still does matter that you're still trying to defend, you're still trying to heal and fix through somebody else, right? Oh my God, I now understand. It answers so much for me. Yeah, right. I got to rewrite the story. Cherry, my name, I've hated my whole life. It's Shuri. Oh, it's Shuri. And everyone calls me Sherry. I never corrected. Interesting, right? So it's like I would take it to be cherry, right? But it's Shuri. Shuri. Yeah, and it's hard because when they want that original spelling of names, when they want to put it a certain way, people change the spelling of names because, oh, I want my kid to be different. I want my kid to be unique. No, what you want is you wanted to be special and you wanted to be unique because your kid already arrived unique and special. And it's like, oh, I don't want anyone to pick on my kid. I don't want my kid to feel left out. I don't want my kid to, have to go through what I went through. Bingo. There you go. I don't want my kid. So everything that a parent did not get in their lives, they try to protect the children from the parents' stories. And so you can't, because the kids are never living in your story. The kids are not living in your experience. It's a totally different experience. And so that goes all the way back to our lives. So we're conditioned by that, the same way we're conditioned to fear. Yeah. Yes, I've pretty much wrote. So, Catherine, that's why I have 6 books. That's why I have 6 books that are written. I just got to get them all published because so much of this expands. And because I became real, and people say, oh my God, I can't believe you're speaking this. And I can't believe you're talking about this. And, oh, we didn't want anyone to ever know about this. I'm like, listen, nothing is a freaking secret. As much as you like to think that you keep things secret, nothing is a secret because your attitude shows everything. Even when you're trying to be so good, that really good person attitude that we have, oh my God, I would never do that. I was never like that. Yeah, okay. Right. And so that's why I said, like, when Mother Mary came to me, and I'm like, oh my, but why you? I've been trying so hard to be able to speak for Mother Mary. And I'm like, well, maybe you shouldn't have tried so hard. If you didn't try so hard, maybe she would have came to you, but you wanted it so bad because what do you do when you want something so bad? That's why in my book, there's actually a chapter called The Narcissist in Me. We all have a narcissist in us. So when you're unwilling to let go, so when you want something so bad, you will take punishment. You'll let the people in your life that matter the most. So it's like, oh, I'm such a good mom. And I said, there's times that I've done this too. Not going to lie, and so there's these things that you say that when you catch yourself in a statement, so like you hold on to an unhealthy relationship, somebody in an abusive relationship. Oh my God, but they told me next it's never going to happen again and they're going to be so different. And I just want them to just see how good they are. I want them to see that, we could be so good together and blah, 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 blah. And that's all the narcissist in me. I want this relationship so bad that I'm willing to take the teeth. I'm willing to take the kick in the guts. I'm willing to take your shit. I'm willing to ignore all the flags that it's unhealthy. And then when it all goes wrong, I'll go and say, I don't know why that happens to me. Why does this keep happening to me? Why? What is happening within me that I keep allowing this? And so then everyone around you is all listening to it. They're all feeling sorry for you. And then eventually people stop. And then I don't know why everybody abandoned me. I don't know why everybody left me. I don't know, I'm always the left out person. I'm always so hard done by, blah, blah, blah. And this is all truth. And trust me, I've been there. So I know the journey. I know this, and it's a hard reality. So when you have to face the hard reality, that means that you're actually starting to have compassion for you. You're actually starting to feel for you. Say, what is happening within me? Why is this my norm? Why do I do this? And why do I drag the people that I love, even my children? Why do I drag my children from relationship to relationship and always in the same story when it's everything that we don't want? I don't want. Why am I allowing this? And that's how we start to heal. So when you work with me, this is where we actually go, and in baby steps, of course. But the first thing that I always tell everybody is the reason why I encourage you to start to see you is because the first thing I do when I see anybody is I see their truth. Through my eyes, I can see the absolute best of you. I can see the beautiful you. I can see the you that got lost. I can see the you that no matter what. And it's like, and people will turn away from working with people who've been through addictions, who've been, out on the street. No, I don't work with them kind of people. Well, what kind of people would you call them people? Really? Right? Like, what kind of people? What makes that person any less than you? And what makes, if you're called upon to do this work, who are you to decide, oh, but that's not, I, that's not for me. I don't, if you're going to be called upon to do the work of the God consciousness, when you're called upon to be this healer, when we are put in a place and a situation where you are being called upon to be of service, you be of service where needed. But you also have to remember that you cannot be the service to everybody who just comes crawling. It's like when you truly want to make a change in your life, you will be the one who's going to book your appointments. You're going to be the one who's going to show up for your appointments. You're going to be the one who's not going to make any excuses. Because trust me, I got a whole pile of women who have gone through more than existing, who show up every week, who face themselves, and some have been through so much that I can't even imagine what they have been through. It is the choice to choose that we have to make the choice. And you have to be the one who says, I am going to do this. Not the one who always got a big, long story. I would say, I don't want to hear the fillers. I don't care how you got there. I care about the you that's right in front of me. I care about the you that's now committing to you, the one that says, I just got there. I don't know the rest. I just got there, and this is I need to do something different. I don't know the different, but I'm ready. And when you're ready, you usually say, I am done. I'm so far away from home. I am ready to come back to me. And when you're ready to come back to you, it's amazing. But you have to be ready. You can tell yourself. And so the Narcissist in Me chapter is truly about when you realize how many things that we do just to be able to hold on to a story, just to be able to stay in a story, just to be able to stay in a relationship. And so when you, instead of like calling somebody else down, say, you know what, I might be also keeping that person from being the best version of them. because maybe we weren't good together, but maybe they're great for somebody else. Maybe my determination to hold on to this life is keeping us both from having a happy life. Or maybe me holding on to this childhood story has kept me from having the most beautiful relationship with my own family. Who knows? Right? So when you can set yourself free of those things, it's amazing what you can do. But you have to be the one. So I had to be the one to face myself. And that's what I've done. And so I am the healed healer. And we're always going to have something. There's always something. But that don't mean you're broken. It don't mean you're not. It means situations. Okay, I got a situation to face. How am I going to deal with this? How is this going to, what do I need to do to make a change today? How do I need to be that change? And that's where you have to come from. And it's like nobody's here to define you. Nobody's here to create you. You have to be the one who becomes your creation. You're the one who has to step up. And that's why I always say, I'm not your guru. I'm not your savior. I will give you all the tools. I love to be able to help. I love to be able to share that wisdom and knowledge. But you have to be the one to do the work. And that's the truth. Catherine, I realized that the name for me was not given in honor. It was given in my mom's need to be spiteful. Yet my mom believes I have not earned the name. My baby brother even named his daughter Catherine E., thinking he was blessing my mom, claiming it was not my name. Right? Don't say sorry, Catherine. I get this now. First step in uncovering me. Exactly. Right. So your first entrance into this world was to spite somebody else. Right. And so that was the story. So through the eyes of the woman that you are today, you were the blessing that was given to your mother, and whatever your mother was angry at the time, she reflected it over that way. And that's, so you were the blessing. You were an opportunity for your mother's story to be different. You were an opportunity for your mother's story to be different. And that's the way you look at it. Right? Mother Isis needs to give me strength today to help a family. You're not going to help the family. You're going to ask. You're going to ask for the help to be given to the family, to be given where it is needed. That's what you do. And then you just show up. Take your breath and you just show up. Alanka. Hello. Nice to see everybody who's joining in as well. So we're going to validate this card. We've been a long time. Who would have thought this card would have turned into such a story, right? Who would have thought? So my work is that I always say, I give you the key to open your heart. And so the key that is given for you to open your heart is for you to be able to start taking that first step, for you to start walking towards you. And when you start to walk towards you, it's amazing. It's not easy. If being enlightened and awakening was easy, and so enlightened don't mean better. Enlightened doesn't mean that, and this is the other thing. Enlightened, to be awakened, doesn't mean you're woke. That, don't get me started on that word. So it doesn't mean to be that, because if you're going to be woke, you judge people. If you're going to be awakened, you stop judging. But if you're going to be enlightened, you stop trying to find the title. You stop trying to be the celebrity. You stop trying to feel as if you need to become something of big greatness. And you just start to embody light, embody love. You lose all that resentment, all that envy, all that prejudice that we get in this world, and you set yourself free of all that. But you also know your worth. You know that to be an enlightened being, if it's to embody light, that I am worthy to live a beautiful life. I'm worthy to live a life that is a beautiful life. But it's not to be defined. It is to be refined. And so when you can start to go back to the speck of sand, and that's all we are in this world. People say, oh, I want to be known and I want to be big. It's like, you're still a speck of sand. You can ask people if you know a certain singer who you think is famous, and they may have like millions of followers. And then someone else say, who? I don't even know who you're talking about. But to that person, They think everybody knows who that person is. To that celebrity who's made it big and they might have sold millions, they might think everybody knows who I am. I am famous and the world knows me and everybody loves me. No, everybody don't love you. And no, you haven't sold a record to everybody. No, you're not everybody in this world knows who you are. You know who you have created an image that people get to know. And that's every celebrity, that's every Instagram star, that's every model. That's It's like you get to know the people based on what they want you to know. They create a persona and you get to know the persona, and then they believe, well, oh, everybody loves me, everybody knows me, everybody's going to be impacted by my statement, by my words. No, a lot of times 95% of the world don't know you. There's a whole portion of the world that don't. They live in a friggin' hut and they have no running water. You are the least of their worries. So you showing up to do good for them and showing your face over there is not for them, right? It's those things that you do without anybody looking. If you can do the right thing when nobody's looking, now you're doing the right thing. If you can be that in so many ways, but also know your worth. It is so important to know your worth. You can't keep giving all of you and not give to you, or else you will be resentful, or else it will affect you in such a way that's not going to be serving your highest good. Okay. Validating this card for us now, guys. Lisa Starr Francis. A favorite quote of mine from the author Hugh Parther from the book Notes to Myself is, there is no such thing as best in a world of individuals. It has kept me in check since grade 11, which was a long, long time ago. Yes, exactly, right? Yes, so true. Yeah, yeah, it's such true. I always say I never set it with an intention to be anything. I just set it out, and then I just set out to just live this life. And that it's funny because that was a problem for a lot of people. Like, why aren't you more stressed? Why don't you keep working hard? Like, why don't you? I work hard, but why don't you want to be more? Why did it's like God has a plan, and whatever God has planned for me is what I shall be. But I want to embrace this journey, and I've missed a lot of the journey in just being of service to everybody else. And that's the one thing that I'm really truly aware of is I spent a lot of my life being a slave to the service industry, and being of service to everyone else with love, of course, with absolute love. I loved what I did. But now I'm being asked, because I'm not 40, I'm actually turning 50 in a couple weeks. And by turning 50 and now knowing my awareness of truth and that love is truth, and so many things encompass the word truth and love, and Lisa Starr Francis can tell you that. She's the word alchemist. That when you start to encompass that at 50, I don't want to be, not that I don't want to be. I know that I am not here to be a slave to the service industry or to be of service in that way. I'm also here to be of service to myself. I'm here to be the voice that speaks the truth through my work and to do these things with such love, but to understand the power of how valuable and important you also here upon this earth. That we need to enjoy the journey. And that means enjoy the beautiful gifts that are being given to you. So like I said to Catherine, like you were the blessing that was given to your mom. Well, all those things that were given to us for us to enjoy and to build beautiful relationships with, let our children have beautiful relationships with who we are today and who we become in that becoming journey, who we are blossoming into. So my newest program is going to be called the Diamond Effects, and it's going to be a much shorter. It's some of the tools that I use in More Than Existing, but there's a whole lot of many things, and that one I'm going to start teaching probably the beginning of May. We're going to start announcing it in April, but there's so many things that are playing out. There's so many things that are playing out that just shows me this journey. So today we're choosing us. And so paradox is our next card. We're validating this with paradox, which makes such a sense because we live in such a paradox world. We create, and so she goes all the way back. So Corina card is a crone card. I'm now a crone. I'm now a crone energy, which means grandmother energy, which means elder. I'm now an elder. And so this card is number 2, and this is the illusionist, the paradox. And that was my story for a long time, was that, I always told the story of the number 2 child. Oh, I'm the number 2 child. And I remember the first women's winter wellness that I was putting off with a few more women. And I'm like, I wrote a big long speech about being this number 2 child and da 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 da. And then I'm like, and then as I started to read it back to myself, my heart started to feel it. And I started to think back to my mom and how young she was, my dad, how young he was, and the struggles, and to have both of us, and we're 10 months apart in age and all these things. And I'm like, my God. And then I thought of, my mother always says I'm the most courageous person she ever met, and I'm the most confident she ever met. She's never met anyone as courageous as me or as confident as me. And she said, and you just always know who you are. You just always knew. You didn't care. She said you just knew. And I don't know where over the last few years I lost that, but somehow I went through a really hard phase. And so, and what I realized in writing all of that, when I was talking about being the number 2 and that paradox, that whole thing that I was putting myself my own misery story that I was creating from a childhood, from a child image of realizing that my mother, I was I was a pretty easygoing child. I didn't need much from my mother, was what she thought, but I needed her more than but I didn't. I was not that needy child. But something of me got stuck in a story. And in that story, what I come to realize and look at it more was I noticed that she was not just living through me. She was living somewhat through me, but she was always giving me all of her. Don't do this. Make sure you do this. Everything that she didn't have the courage to do within herself, she was encouraging me to do. She was giving me her power. I was her daughter. She was giving me her light. She wanted me to be the one who would walk. She wanted me to be the one who would do these things. So in a way, it's like there's such a love and hate relationship sometimes in the parenting and daughter journey. And we're more like sisters than we are mother and daughter sometimes. But as I've gotten older, in the end of the More Than Existing book, in this book, at the end of it, I truly write about when I got honest with myself and I stopped telling myself the stories, is that I gave my mother her rightful place upon her crown, upon her throne. She did everything she could for us, from a woman who had, been through all the things that she had been through her childhood, through her hard life growing up. She helped raise some of her siblings. Like, she didn't grow up in it wasn't the best of life. And then she had a hard life. And then my dad's family, she was living with them when she was quite young. And then her and my dad married. And so I'm like, for everything that she went through, she was amazing freaking mother to still be able to raise us how she did, without having the mothering that she needed, without having the nourishment she needed, without having the love that she needed. And to think what she did, and still to raise us to be the children that we were. I'm like, so in the book, I'm like, I give her back her crown. I put her up on her throne. And so when I could move beyond that story, and I could call her by her name. So when you call them by their names, take away the role they played, because the role they played don't define them. That's a part of the whole picture. Your mothers, your fathers, your grandmothers, they were all, them as that. So you tell the story based on knowing them by the roles that they played. Right. So people know me based on the role of my job, about what I did. So people, they assume they know you, but they don't know you. So when you give them a real name, so when I gave myself the name Corina, I started to see the beauty. When I gave my mother the name Angela, and I always call her Angela, but I like Angela. If I had an Angela come and sit across from me and needed my help and my guidance, would I be so hard and so judgmental on her as I have been on wanting my mother to make a change in her life? That's the way I started to write the book. And I'm like, no, if I had a woman who had been through what my mother had been through, I would be doing everything that I could for her to see the light within, without getting angry, without getting frustrated. I would give her the tools, and I would hope that somewhere along the line that she would make the change that she needs to see. because the rest was me being able to stay in my misery story of what the Corey of me had created to live in, that was allowing me to make the excuses for why I was letting people hurt me, why I wasn't speaking up, why I had become angry, why I had 130 pounds on, why. When you can let go, when you can let go, when you can set yourself free, you also then set free the people in your life. That takes work. It doesn't mean everybody, but you can set them free of the expectations, of the story, of all the things that you have created and that you have placed upon them. Give them a name. When you give people a name, you start to see different. You start to feel different. Thank you, Lisa. A wonderful example, showing up as you, teaching others the value of valuing themselves. Really true. Thank you. I try. And that's what I said. I had my work. I'm like, it doesn't mean everybody has to share everything with the world. And there's a lot of things I don't share because they're not my stories. And I even say that in the book, is that, there's things about my mom that are not my story. They're not mine to tell. I have no right to tell. They're not mine. They're hers. And that's her story to tell if she ever feels like it. And if not, she takes it to the grave with her. That's hers. But the fact that in this lifetime, you learn to accept. I got the parents I was meant to have. Somewhere along the line, you recognize there were always people who would call you by your real name to remind you of you, including teachers in school, principals, and those kind of people, doctors, people that would call you that were often people who were, of status, and they were, calling you up and saying, look at you. And so when you can look at you for your name, for who you are, and you can look at yourself beyond your name, and you can see from the inside out. So whew, my computer just went black. Weirdest thing. My whole screen just went totally black. Holy weird. And it's a new computer, so it shouldn't be doing that. So can't make up these moments. So that's our second card. So when you did that paradox, it's like when you get to your truth, when you start to, and also that whole, so this is where the persona comes in. So the paradox, the illusionist, is the realities that the illusions that we turn into realities and we make it real. But it's also, that's what we do with our identity. So that role that you play, that persona, so sometimes you see the most happy-go-lucky person and, oh, they're so funny and but you don't know the pain hiding behind that. Is that their truth? Prime example, look at Robin Williams. Look at the people who were big celebrities and then all of a sudden they took their lives, and people like, oh my God, I would never have known, because you didn't know the people. I would never have known. I would never have thought they were someone to take their lives. And I'm like, well, you didn't know them. You don't know those people. You seen them play a character. You seen them play a role. You seen them acting out their lives. Well, that's what people do in our lives. We do that in our lives. We act out our lives. And so we act out those things, and you become the character. You become what you create of yourself. And so if you've been living in misery your whole life, well, now you have an opportunity to recreate the game. If you could create that person, the pleaser, the the jokester, the trickster, the villain, the vixen, the prostitute, you could create, if you could create yourself into that person, and that's a much harder life to live. Then imagine if you change your perspective, if you look into the light instead of into the darkness of the person that you can become. Just got to give up all the shit. Just got to stop all the fillers. Okay. Let's go with the next card. Card number 3. Oh, look, the illusionist wants to keep flipping over. Benevolence. If you can be anything, be benevolent. Be kind. So this is a statement that I hear often. Oh, I'm just doing the kindest thing for me and you. I'm just doing the kindest thing for me and you. And when I hear that often, and I mean, I used to say the statement as well. Oh, this is the best thing. I just know this, like in a breakup or something, right? It's like, oh, I just know it's the best thing. No, it's the best thing for you. It's the best thing for you. And it's okay to say that. I'm doing the best thing for me. I know it's not for you. It might not be for you, but it's the best thing for me. And that's, it's like, oh, no, I'm going to do what's going to satisfy me, not what's going to satisfy you. And that's how it comes in. So it's like I often get my my young ones that are going through, like, I remember teenagers and stuff that would come to the shop and they're like, you know, he just said that he just felt it was best. It was the best thing for the both of us if we do that. And I'm like, oh, bullshit. It was the best thing for him. He got what he wanted. He got what he needed. And that goes both ways. Not I'm just as much for men as I am for women. I don't have that one side or the other thing. But it's like when people keep telling you those stories and you start to believe it, oh, but it was, it's like, no, he did you, there was a favor. Now it's an opportunity for you to accept that that's what happened. And it's like, you know, they got what they wanted out of it. They got what they needed from you. They, whatever that is. And the time is up and now you got to let it go. But don't say that statement to people. Catch yourself in that statement and say, the kindest thing that I can do for me is, because this is not working for me and I'm not happy, is that I can walk away instead of telling you, instead of blowing smoke up your ass and saying that it's working when it's not, or I'm happy when I'm not, or I love you when I don't. Let's just be honest. It's not working, right? And that's the most kindest thing that you can do for people. Don't give people the thing that's going to make you feel better about yourself, because that's you nurturing your own insecurities, and you can walk away feeling like, oh, I was such a good person. I did the best thing for everybody and da 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 da. No, you did not. You did the best thing for you. And that's the truth, right? And so this benevolence, and when you're looking at Perphone, is that you see this card, and I know a lot of people would want to assume a story of judgment, but it's not. The woman behind is just coming out. She's just starting to become her. She still don't know herself. She's still trying to find herself, but she's admiring the woman who's being herself. She's like forefront. She's like, I know me, and I'm letting the world see me, and I'm showing up as me, and I'm not being anything other than me. And so she's wearing the sparkly dress. So the one behind's like in admiration. There's an admiration. So you can admire somebody without trying to take everything from them to be them. And that happens so often, that when you are so far away from yourself and you just get so caught up in just like wanting to be, I was like, I can help that person. I can make them a better person. I can do this for them. I can do that for them. What are you gaining from it? What are you getting? What is this for you? Because 9 chance out of 10 is what's it fulfilling for you? So when you can admire somebody and you can be in admiration, and you can offer, to be around, but it's like, no, what are you doing for you? What is this serving for you? And so when you can be this benevolent being, when you do the best that you can by saying, I just see something in that person I just admire them. I admire who they are. I chased down a woman in Walmart one day to tell her how much I love the smell of her perfume. Just like I had a woman stop me in the grocery store and said, oh my God, I love your shoes. And I'm like, oh, thank you. And then she walked around again and she came back in. She said, no, I lied to you. I love your shoes, but that's not why I stopped you. I needed to stand next to you, because when I stood next to you, when I walked past you, I could feel something from you. And you're somebody very special. And I'm like, what? She said, no, there's something about you. And she says, I just want to tell you that I see you. Like you're just such a beautiful person, and don't let anybody take from you, okay? And so you're going to meet messengers in the world. And those are the people they're God sent to you, that really show you who you are. They're not coming in to take from you. And so when you can be in somebody else's company and have no desire to take that dress, like to not want to take that dress off that woman and to wear it for yourself and to proud to display it as I did all this and I made all of this and it was all about me, or I created that person into all of who they are. When you can let go of all of those things and you just know that you're just like, just sharing love, you're just sharing space, you're just there for each other, you just be that. You can admire with love, you can support with love, you can hold space with love, you can help share wisdom and knowledge with such love. And that is what changes. Your life transforms when you truly can move past that sense of any of the insecurities, the fears, the tantrums, and those type of things. And you start to walk in your truth and in the light of love. When you do that, it's amazing what starts to show up in your world. It truly, truly is. You don't need her sparkly dress. You can get your own style, your own way, do your own thing, and always just show up as you. Because that's the one thing I can tell you. I have never tried to be anybody else. That's never been me. I've never wanted to be anybody else. I don't inspire, I don't be, I don't aspire to be anyone but me. I've been fighting hard enough my whole life to be me and to be allowed to be me, or to, or to be in the presence of people who often want to be me. And and it's not intentional. It's often not intentional. And I've learned that over years. You take, it's a compliment, but it's sometimes hard. So just like yesterday, this is crazy, guys. So just like yesterday, the closing card that comes out is the Everyday Miracle She Is card. And this is the, everyone knows I channel the Marys, all the Marys. And so I channel the Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Mary Bethany. I channel all that energy. And that is the divine feminine, the divine mother. And so she is the last card of the deck. And we're going to bring her back up, and we're going to bring back up our first card. We're going to hide that one. And we're going to bring up this. And we're going to bring up this. And so the whole essence of the Everyday Miracle is she is. She is her own creation. She is the creation of love. So when you can aspire to be the creation of love, I say, when I started to, who would I be? Who would I walk as? And so I started to take training, and I'm not, it's not that I follow any religions. I started to take the training, lead like Jesus. When I wanted to find out exactly who I would want to, kind of emulate, can't even get the word out, my life to be after, is that if I could aspire to be a good person, who would I choose? And it was Jesus. And through that, I met Mother Mary, and Mother Mary came to me with her hands in prayer position. And then she took me on a journey. And I just did a podcast about this last week, which I have not shared yet. I've made 3 new podcasts, and I have a new YouTube channel, and I have not shared anything from there yet. I haven't even made it public yet. But I spoke about this, and I'm going to share this story in here. So when Mother Mary came to me, it was years ago, the first time, and it was hands, and then I seen her full body, and it was before my Sedona trip, before she came, and she took me by the hand, and she walked me to a cross, and there was a ladder, and at the time I couldn't understand the ladder, and I had to climb the ladder, and on it was Jesus, and he was on the cross, and in my hands I realized I was holding a crown of thorns. And he said, and I was told in this awake dream to place this crown on the head of Jesus. And I was looking into his eyes, and I could see so deeply. And he just said, Corey, you have to. And I said, no, I will not hurt you. He said, you have to give me your suffering. And all I ask in return is that you trust me, that you walk this journey and you trust. You live on purpose, and you just trust me. And I told the story for a long time that I did it, and I cried and I cried and I cried. And when I was almost done the second last book, when I was almost done creating more than existing, or when I was done writing the first book, when I was done writing the first book, I was all done, and I was proudly like, yeah, I get the book written. It's like, and so I heard Dr. Wayne Dyer, who's on the other side, who came to me and he said, no, Corey, you got one last chapter to write. You have to push it. A YouTube video popped up at the same time on my phone as I heard the message from him. I'm like, I got nothing left to give today. He said, there's always something more to give. You always have to be willing to push yourself a little bit. If this is comfortable, you have to push yourself out of the comfortable. So you have to push it. So the last chapter, when I pushed it, I came to find out that I still was holding the crown, that I kept telling the story that I had placed the crown back on his head. Because if I was still carrying the pain stories, the hurt stories, and I was still carrying the burdens, the guilt of my abortion story and my son, then I still was carrying that crown of thorns in my hands, and I had not handed over my suffering. So I have a statue and a whole shrine of Mother Mary that was on my steps. I walked down to the shrine and I heard Mother Mary say, give me your son. Give me that unborn child. Give me your story. I've given you mine. I've given you mine. And that's when everything changed in my life. I handed over that crown of thorns. I handed over that suffering and handed over me. And I put it in my heart. And I realized that I had to listen to the highest good. And I had to do what was for the highest good. And I had to listen to my heart and to know that my heart, a healed heart, will guide you. A unhealed heart will have you second guessing yourself because you have contaminated your intuition. And from there, I started a new journey with the Marys, with Mother Mary, with Jesus, with walking with, I always say I have a relationship with the Jesus who's dead, and then the rise again Jesus after the cross. So the dead Jesus. So I have a relationship with Jesus who shows up as the man, and I have a relationship with the Jesus who shows up as the Lord Jesus Christ, the light after the dark. And so when you can allow yourself to take the journey through the darkness, you can and still know that you have light in there. So no matter how bad your day is, no matter where you think you are in life, no matter what is happening, know there is light. As long as you have breath, you have a light. And as long as there's a light, there's an opportunity. And when you can find that light in that moment, every moment is an opportunity for you to make a choice to choose you. When you make a choice to choose you, you also choose everyone else. When you choose everyone else, you stop trying to think that you're going to be better or you're going to be more or that you are more valuable. The learn to live as she is. And that's all of my new work is based around she is her own creation, not the creation to be more than, to be better than, to be more popular, to create this whole big brand thing. But she is the creation of all that would encompass love. I don't know what's next. I don't know where it goes from now. All I know is that I am here to be in the presence of, to be a benevolent being, to try to do the best that I can, and every single day to improve upon the human that I am. And that's it. And you can't be the one who thinks you're going to change the world or that you're going to change everybody's lives. You have to be the woman who makes a choice to be the change that you want to see in the world first. Stop holding the crown. So when I finally climbed the cross again and I placed the crown of thorns on the head of Jesus, I actually then found myself at the three Marys sisterhood, where there is a beautiful sanctuary, a walk. And I walked it so many times. I walked that path so that I could really, truly learn that those women who are out there of the highest service, those are the women that I admire. The voice of that Jesus, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, those who've had to make the biggest sacrifices in this world to do the things that were right, might not have been the easiest, and definitely not going to be without some suffering. But when you know that you're walking forward and you're walking ahead, you may be taking the stones first. You may be taking some of those things, but you're doing what is going to be of the highest good for humanity in the end. Because if every one of us can become benevolent beings, the world may become a better place. And that starts with us. So you start to be your own creation. And that's the beauty of the angels, the angelic, those who walk before us. Find the ones that inspire us, and not to be an influence upon trying to force somebody else to be something that you want them to be. Start becoming the person start allowing yourself, not trying to control it. Start allowing yourself to become the person that we are here to be. Good humans. That's it. That's it. The soul doesn't need us. That place out there don't need us. They're observing us. So when you heal your heart, when you let the healing happen, you're not so impulsive. You can trust your intuition. Because when you are going against your intuition and you're not trusting your intuition, because you're listening to the other side of the flags, the second mind, emotions are running your life and not faith. Fear is as invisible as faith. You may have had previous experiences that make you be a little bit more cautious, but the experiences of today are not the same experiences of the past. So they cannot be the ones that's defining the life that you are living today. That's my messages for you today. And I hope in some way this helps you. And this was the card yesterday that Sadie was even chewing up at the end. So return to there. That same little tiny girl, little boy that arrived that very first moment, that first day. Before you arrived, you're still that being. The biggest illness that we have in the world, and I just wrote that in the book, the biggest illness we have in the world is conditioning. We condition, we are conditioned, and then we condition ourselves, and then we get schools, university, like everything condition us. You have to do this, you have to be this, you have to succeed, you have to accomplish this, you have to everything that we have is all about the conditioning. When you can uncondition from the programming, and you can start to allow yourself to write a new program, to live within a new program, your life will change. I hope this helps you in some way. And there is still a free meditation in Corey School of Magic that is up there that you can still do today. And it's a healing meditation. You just got to enroll in school. And enroll in the school is free. And you can sign up for to get anything new that's coming out in anything that we're going to be offering course, you'd get an email for. You don't have to sign up for it, but you can. But then all the free stuff is there. And if you want to take some of my paid courses, yay. I have a couple new ones coming up. I have a Goddess Within 4-week course coming up on April the 11th. Sometime in April, I will be announcing the date for the Diamond Effects. I don't know when the next More Than Existing the perfect time. And oh, I'm frozen. Okay. I think I'm back. Okay, I'm back now. So, this is the perfect time. Back again. I'm watching on my phone so I can see when this happens to us too. So, frozen back. And that's what happens to us. So there's your other message. You actually become frozen in time. So where the original source, the original trauma started, that's where you got frozen. So you were frozen then. So now you're unnumb. Now you start to awake. Now you know a different story. Now you start to know a little bit more truth. So now there's no excuse for some of the things that you need to do for you today. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm none of that. I'm an everyday woman who is a professional life coach, who's a spiritual healer, who is a certified, professionally trained Reiki master, teacher, professionally certified medium. There's many things I'm trained in, but I am none of those things. They're just certificates on the wall. I'm born this way. This is who I was born into. The rest are certificates, and the rest are just knowledge that I gained upon this earth. This wisdom came from here, and I am blessed to be able to have it. So thank you for being with me. And today, We start letting our hearts that were blackened back when they were frozen in time to start to thaw all the way out, so that the sadness can start to lift, the light starts to come in, and today you get to embody a little more light than you did the day before. Thank you for being with me. Much, much love. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye. I love having you for a neighbor. Bye-bye.